Greetings, I am Liz.
And I am Scandal.
And let's watch a dog freak out together. Woo!
All right.
Roxy is having a time. All right, so we're not sure that this looks like
She's been T-posing this whole time and she's not even moving.
She is.
She is frozen.
She's just like,
oh my god, the game has
ta-da.
glitched. I'm
She's
so
also like,
excited.
I present to you the non-Sierra Nevada Sierra Nevadas. Ta-da! All right, so if you are new to this series, welcome aboard. We do recommend that you check out the entire series if you want to be like up on the story and such.
Yes.
In the meantime, for everybody else who's been here, we love that you have followed along with us so long. This series has made so many more episodes than expected, honestly.
Yes.
And it's good to have you. So, wonder how I should rake the gravel. Again, do whatever you like. It's just an exercise to help you concentrate. Do I have a Zen gravel rake? That's what I need to know. So? Here we go. So go wild. But, you know, calmly. I guess a girl's gone calmly wild.
Honestly, that's actually, though, I remember a lot of people being like, yeah, if you're really anxious, sometimes just making patterns over and over and over again. It really is supposed to be a meditative exercise, as far as I understand, for this part of doing Zen gardens.
That's
because they are meant to move. Like, they aren't just supposed to be, you set it up once and then you're done.
Forever.
You're actually expected, in some ways, to go back out.
And change it.
And whenever you need to just kind of go play with, basically, the stones again and the gravel, and just sort of remake things.
Or when you're cleaning it up, because leaves do fall in there, stuff gets blown in there. Even if the gravel doesn't get blown out, you get stuff in there on top of it. So you clean it and then you meditate it.
Right.
But actually, drawing patterns, like even on a piece of paper and stuff, I've actually introduced friends to that exercise before, where they're having like an anxiety attack, or they're just really anxious and uncomfortable and they just can't focus or get anything done. It's just like, take a piece of paper, draw like a bunch of figure eights or something repetitive that you can just run down the page.
Yep.
But it can just help you calm down and focus. It's sort of like breathing with the expansion and collapse and triangle kind of thing.
Right.
If you don't know what that is, I apologize. It's just a GIF that just sort of expands into a larger shape slowly and then collapses down into a smaller shape. And you follow your breathing with it to help you know the length of time with visual cues to take a deep breath.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, calmly. Okay, deep breath and rake. It's just cat Rachel going hee hee hee. Oh no, you're gonna use that kind of a rake?
I
don't know how that's gonna. Oh no, that's cute.
That is definitely not the pattern you
That
make with
rake is not going to be able to do these things.
Oh.
This one also has a problem for me of going look like it's a texture laid underneath it.
Because
Because it is too uniform at the edges, as far as sand doesn't run into the edges like
now
that.
again, you have very specific tools, though, as far as I understand, to do stuff like this. So I feel like, again, this is frustrating.
Think amateur Lily,
I
even though
know.
she's magical, and the sand is or the gravel is completely uniform, not varying at the edge at all. So even when you show bumps in the pattern, there's no pattern overlaying the edges. That's
I
where it falls
know.
apart for me.
It's okay.
So this one, I honestly like this one the most visually, but this one seems a little more realistic. But
I genuinely don't know. I know people who are very, very good at basically more or less performing these or putting these out for people that go, here's where all the people can go so they can see a real Zen garden.
this
Because I
one
went to
here-
several of them actually in California.
Oh.
They just have gardens that are just hanging out.
Okay.
That like crowds of people get to go through. Because
Right.
you get to go to the
Zen
Zen gardens in
yes.
California. They're
Uh-huh.
actually like, I think it was down in San Diego
It's a
where we
thing.
went.
Okay.
It's like a huge thing. It's like, speaking of like me going to various gardens all over, the United States and going,
Okay, so here's where I have the problem again. There's these deep furrowed bumps along the edge of the concrete here. It doesn't exist. So like, I think I can touch this without, like along here.
Yeah,
it should be laying over that border, and it's not. So this one doesn't touch the edges much. I'm gonna go with that one.
sure, why not?
Because it will bother me the least. Also, where are your footprints, dear? Oh, Zen Master Lily. It's got a nice ring to it. Hi.
Oh no, she
Only
knows the 10,000 hour rule.
It's a 10,000
Oh,
hour rule.
God.
Okay, I am so sick of that rule, and so is Malcolm Gladwell. But that's okay. Like, it's fine.
Contextually.
10,000 hour rule doesn't work the way a lot of people think it is. Requires deliberate practice, is a good marker for progress, but isn't a guaranteed success point. At any rate, here we go. Only 9,999 and a half hours of meditation to go. So she did that in 30 minutes.
That's
Canon now, based on this, she did
is
that in
in
30 minutes.
Wow.
Maybe I'm okay with Zen Apprentice Lily.
Okay,
That's
so
cute. That's
so
kinda
hang
charming.
on. So if we're
Okay.
gonna say that that's gonna give us a timing, I'm like, what does that mean then? So all these other things have only been taking us like a half hour through the day. So we
Maybe.
end our days really late or really early, maybe.
Or
Because sometimes
depending.
we have very few things on our list, and then it's abruptly nighttime.
I don't even know. I was like, but some of them are a little while later. Some of them say a few hours later.
They do.
So
I know that.
hours, but I'm like, I don't know what the time. Time is a vortex in here. Like, I got
really is.
nothing. All right, 3 of 3. Here we go. Let's do this. I do like the interaction between them, though. It's very charming in this moment. Rachel and Lily. Does it matter what color the gravel frame is? We already did that. Whatever you like. There's a gravel frame.
Oh, this section.
But we already did that part. That's what made it into this. We actually already
we didn't.
It's in between.
Yeah, no, I'm like too far.
Okay. They did. When we selected this, it showed the gravel already in there.
Yep.
But then it's separate. They just put it together. I like the dark one.
I like the dark one too because it makes it it frames it very strong. It's a stark contrast.
Rockin'. The puns do add a lot, honestly. Like, whatever else I may have complaints about this game, the puns are very fun, and I am charmed by them. I also liked, we did it! So good.
That was so bad. It was so good.
So good. Hey, can I ask you something? Of course. How did you and Luke... Oh,
hey!
God! Thank you! We've been looking for this so
bad!
long.
Because we barely know anything about anyone!
Additionally, we now know more about what she does for a living than Luke.
Yes.
Like, as far as we know, unless Luke is currently unemployed, not pulling in any, like not doing it, just doing sculptures and hoping for the best.
Right.
And repairing cars and spending money, just living off whatever he's got in savings or something.
Right.
Like, we don't know anything about what he does with his day.
Yeah, we don't.
Like, we know that she has, a career, it's in some kind of design or architecture, and, like, how basically her feelings and thoughts on it. And she's also used that career advice actively in her conversations. We've heard nothing about what even Luke's past job was.
Something just freaking occurred to me.
What's that?
Okay, so at least for all the women who are mostly all on screen, they're all doing something big while their husbands are doing crap. Regina is working and her husband stays at home. And she thinks poorly of him.
Yeah.
Rachel does something big while Luke seems to stay at home and Rachel kind of seems to think poorly of him. Lily also seems to think poorly of him. Lily's boyfriend, I don't know, like, or her ex-fiance doesn't really seem to have done much.
He did. He was putting her off for work all the time. She was the one that was basically, she was an accountant. They were both working, but it seemed like she was the more sheltered of the two.
But I also was
always taking business calls.
But I was gonna say, to me though, also like the level of implication though is that basically he was doing things that were underhanded or greasy, and women were the only ones who were working really hard.
Yeah.
Now I'm not saying that that's bad, because there have been numerous stories throughout history. I mean, if you want a good example for basically women not getting credit for their work, look at the history of basically mathematicians. There are actually many famous women mathematicians who lost out because so there was a belief that I learned about when I was in high school during one of my colloquial discussions. So that is redundant, but it's specifically when you say colloquial, people go, what the heck is that?
Right.
A colloquial is a discussion, right?
Okay.
So we had a discussion on basically mathematicians, and they had a part of time where they literally believed that if a woman studied math or used her brain a lot, it would divert blood away from the lower organs so she could no longer reproduce.
Yeah.
Though they, of course, never answered that question for men, which was part of the thing that they pointed out. But also, part of me is kind of annoyed because in some way I'm like, this is the year of our Lord 2020. Can we please stop shitting also on everybody?
On everybody.
And now we're turning around going, oh, women need recognition. I'm like, yes, but also all of the guy examples we've run into, our lead aggressively shits on the guy that she's interested in. Luke also seems to be incredibly basically he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He seems very
Again, they're painting him as though he's not doing anything valuable. He's disorganized. Again, we don't know what he does with his time.
No.
And the expression is, what are your artistic things? And going,
which I resent really badly because
I'm an artist.
That's fine.
Anyway, it does seem like there aren't any men that are portrayed really good in here. Even Mr. Jones, who was our aunt's, last love, if you will, he seems
very deeply disconnected.
He, one, seems very disconnected, and two, he's also very indirect.
He's very vague.
Aggressively vague.
He's a vague blogger, holy
Additionally,
shit.
He seems to have no interest in making, it's her, his lover's favorite, niece who's inheriting her fortune and her, her land, feel comfortable at all or secure in what she's inherited in any way. It's not his obligation, but he is nonetheless playful and familiar with her in a silly, like, I'll harass you, I'll jab you kind of way of, well, let's look at you today and see if you meet up to my specs and my standards.
I don't know.
But in a playful kind of way. It doesn't make him seem like a really kind, nice, good person that is engaged. He seems like he's basically you could interpret it that he's also dissociating and disconnected off into his grief. And the reason he's so vague about things and so non-committal with his answers and won't answer Lily directly on hardly anything is because he's basically going, I'm trying to maintain a level of separation because so many good memories were there and your aunt died there.
And I guess, I don't know, like some of me is just like, do we just have a bunch of people who do not identify as straight, or basically, like, again, there's a level of, like, so there's something, like, I don't know if you guys have ever heard about it in the United States, or even if you live in the United States, of going, like, have you ever heard of something called boomer humor? Where basically the level of humor is really to basically shit on your romantic partner, which is obviously for most boomers, they're like, it's the straight humor. You're basically going, God, my wife is such a demon. Gotta go home to that old ball and chain.
And
like, there's a
you're
lot.
Supposed to be theoretically saying it endearingly, going, yes, my.
But I've seen some people really say it like they're just.
But some
like,
people
God,
dig it in, like,
Yeah, like, especially with some, like.
But also that's standard. Oh, of course I love my partner, of course I adore him, but he's just a worthless idiot that just messes things up.
Sometimes you just really need to get away and get some time to yourself. I'm like, I can't tell, like, this is where I'm like, the level of, like, humor in here goes anywhere from, I'm like, I feel like you're going, basically, like, you have millennial people who are working for you, but you also have a very strong, basically, boomer overhead.
That sounds a little bit like it. Additionally, there's this idea of, like, we're marketing to millennials. The thing that I've talked about before, where it feels like we're using the language, the terms, basically, like the memes of your target demographic.
But it also seems sometimes without context.
Hollow. They're not tied to anything. It's just going, millennials like this. Let's put that in.
Right?
Thrupple's the new thing to say. I'm gonna keep using that one because, like, it
that was
annoyed
so
me.
wild.
It was so out there. But what I was trying to say about Mr. Jones, and especially in reference to his character building in the Easter event of going, it doesn't seem like there's any really good male representation in this game. That all the men are really undesirable in a lot of ways, or painted as either bumbling, immature, greasy, or scary, or controlling. It doesn't seem like, and you don't have to have it, but it doesn't seem like there are just any, like, sort of just good guys, I guess, or well-balanced male individuals. Like, I don't want to use good because it has actually a moral weight to it, but I just mean, like, you didn't write one that is like, this is my favorite male character kind of thing.
Man character.
Thank you. I'm trying to figure out how to, I'm just running into, I don't know how to say this, but it feels like basically all your guy characters that you're writing to be less good.
And it's not even like you're trying to write, like, conflict in a way of going, like, hey, let's foster good communication, or let's try to aim for something higher or better. Like, because sometimes, again,
they're basically like all minor antagonists.
Oh, yeah.
That's, I think, what I'm going for. I'm, like, trying to find the words for this thing. It seems like every man in here is a minor antagonist of some kind.
And I'm not saying that, like, that's necessarily, like, I don't know.
It's
like,
not
I don't
bad,
know.
but it feels weird for the game. Like, it feels like, where are you going with this?
There's also, though, like, a level of sometimes frustration that I have where really, like, they're like, this is the man empowerment game, and then you have your woman empowerment game, and for some reason you always have to do that by demonizing someone else. There's always a level of being,
so that's the problem that I have about rewrites of things, of going, we just wrote their amazing backstory, we just redid Maleficent. You had to demonize one of the original characters that was not bad to do this. Unless you can keep your original characters intact without demonizing one of them, in fact, in my opinion, it's not very good retelling.
Honestly, it was actually, so when we
So
both
if you want to do a woman empowerment movie, don't demonize all your men.
Right?
Go ahead.
Well, it was also very frustrating, at least for me, in terms of, like, Maleficent, because also everybody other than Maleficent felt like a goddamn moron. Like, they felt unintelligent, incapable, very much selfish and self-centered, and woe is Maleficent, she's the only one who really thought about anyone else. She was genuine and caring and blah, blah, blah before she was ruined.
I will argue for Diavolo.
I
will just argue for Diavolo. I think you probably forgot about him, but
no, but I mean, like, but he's also, though, like, I have to serve you kind of thing in order that, like, I didn't, the balance in that relationship, I really didn't feel entirely was completely there. Still,
Diaval. Sorry, Diaval.
I was like, Diaval?
I was like, hang on, it's Diaval.
Diaval. So we're talking about her raven servant. But like
her indentured servant. Yes.
Like her slave.
Yes.
Except, well, you know, I indentured myself to you because I owe you a life debt.
Except for she demanded it.
Yeah, I know.
He didn't
You
offer
owe
it.
me now. I know. And you're like, that's not
like,
how
right.
this works.
All right,
Thanks,
so
but,
how did you and Luke end up together? Because I want to know. I guess we were a bit of an odd couple. You're right. We have noticed that. I'm glad the game creators are aware of it as well. That's excellent. That helps me trust them more. I guess when you're young, sometimes you see a person so unlike you and think, maybe I need them. Okay, I can see that. Going, especially if you have strong judgment on yourself and you really have that really high standard to live up to. Like if we're going with, they really dug in with, your
Asian expectation.
Yes, exactly. Going
like
your Japanese
American
American expectation.
Yeah.
And
for performance and
I have
perfection.
so much pressure on me, and he just seemed so lighthearted and easygoing, and all the time, even though people didn't expect me ever to do it, and it would have been ridiculous if I did. I got told to lighten up or have a little more fun, and I went, I need some of that. I want to try and have more of a balance in myself, so I went after it, even though that might not have been the best solution. I could see that.
All right. Fair.
It doesn't have to be that way, but that's where it's going for me. I thought that Luke's abstract, scattered personality was a necessary counterbalance to my structured one. See, so she is coming from the same place I perceived it.
I was about to say, yeah, like that. I've seen some people who are really like, yeah, no, I really needed somebody who could balance me, and I'm like, rather than just learning to meet somebody and talking to them and getting along and so they actually have done studies on it, and they're like, actually, opposites do not attract. Like, it's very, very rare, and it's actually not nearly as common as fan fiction and stories want you to believe. Like, it takes work if you're going to do that. But it's more often than not, birds of a feather totally flock together.
Yes.
You do not have a lot of...
You connect to each other because you have things in common.
Yes.
Because you have stuff to talk about, and you have shared activities you can do. If you have no shared activities that you can do together and no things to talk about in common,
right,
you really have to reach unless you're interested in those things.
God, I remember so much, though, even for the person that I dated, they were also dating somebody else, was just a thing of going watching this level of going well, I stay with this person because he keeps me in balance, he keeps me in check, he keeps me under control,
he moderates me.
And I need to do this thing. I've heard that story though from a lot of women of going I'm staying with this guy because I'm supposed to, because this is how it should work,
because he makes me a better person.
Again, that thing where we were actually talking about in a recent My Mystic Dragons that we just did, of this kind of thing of going that sex or basically enjoying yourself and having a good time in a relationship isn't expected for women, and that it's going to be difficult, and you're not going to like sex, or you're not going to like everything that's going on, or you guys can't talk about it or work on it or anything. That's just kind of how life is.
Just that basically that women don't like sex.
Yeah.
And aren't interested in sex. It can happen, and it's going to.
Well, no, I mean, even for stuff overall, though, too, of just being that your partner really, it might just suck for you in some ways, but that's okay because they're your partner.
Because they're your partner, right. And you're going to have this disaster who is Luke, who will never get better, but it'll just be cute, and that's just what it is.
Right? And I'm
boys, what was it? I've seen it a lot on Tumblr in posts of basically going, boyfriends are so annoying, but you gotta love them, gotta have them. And I've heard it in many, many different languages, and different ways of saying it, where basically it's so frustrating and irritating to have a boyfriend. It's so exhausting to have a boyfriend. The boyfriends I date are always just overwhelming and tiring, but it's so important to have one, and you gotta love them anyway.
And I'm going, that is boomer mentality. I hate to tell, I'm going to tell you guys right now, that's boomer mentality. Of going yep, wives can't live with them, can't live without them. That is totally straight out of my parents' generation. And I find that to be really toxic and really abusive. It has the potential to basically lead into a lot of harmful behaviors towards your, the person you're going, I'm going to spend time with you, and God, I just have to fucking put up with you, I guess.
Right. So anyway, I see where she's coming from here and going, it just seems like we create a balance. But what I would like to say, just in reference to counterbalance my structure, myself, is that you are not on one side of a seesaw and need a partner to complete you and your experience on the other side.
People are born incomplete, and I need to find my other half.
In my opinion, you and everyone are complete by themselves, and you get more and greater if you find someone that adds to you.
Yes, and
Like,
that's
the two of you together produce something more outside of yourselves. You
Yes.
don't become more complete in and of yourself.
right.
Like, you're already complete. And as much as you might be hurt or broken or damaged or go, I don't feel like I'm all here or I'm limited, that person may help you with those things, but they're not completing you.
This is why also that I think that therapy is actually really, really important.
Yes.
Because therapists are there to try to help you complete yourself.
Or
In
find
my
out
experience.
that you are complete.
Yeah.
Discover the pieces of yourself you thought you were missing.
Right.
And strengthen those pieces
And
so
try
you
to
can
empower
access them.
you and basically give you language and give you tools that you can use to better yourself.
Mhm.
All right,
Well,
keep going.
all right, so here we go. We'll get through this one. I learned two big things from him. What? One, I didn't need a counterbalance.
Yes!
If you're not a whole person, another person can't fix that. You don't have or need another half. I like her better all the time, honestly. I feel like her dialogue's pretty cool, but again, she feels more solid than some of the other characters.
Right.
Like, she doesn't do as much pendulum swing for the sake of a joke.
Right.
Or for the sake of drama. Like, so far as I've known her, I like her a lot. Two, you can love someone a lot
and still not want to be with them. Yes.
That's so good.
That is so fucking...
It's really important.
It's very aware.
I have had exes or people that I'm trying to break up with throw that at me before. This idea that, you just don't love me. Why won't you love me? It's like, I do feel like I love you. I don't want to be with you. Loving you is not the end all be all. And love doesn't mean, like, is it only possible to one, love one person, two, love one person in a romantic or relationship context, and three, does that mean you have to be with them? And in that way, does unrequited love kill people? Basically, I can't be with them, they're with someone else, but I love them. Like, you just impose so many stupid things going, love does not mean, however you interpret it, even with all the bells and whistles, that you need to be with someone or that you want to be with someone.
Yeah.
You can be like, I have the most passionate regard for you, the most intense connection to you. I hurt me, or you hurt me when we are together, both.
Actually, you want a really good example of that? That's remember in Pride and Prejudice, where she goes, you told me that you liked me against your will. How the hell am I supposed to be flattered by that?
You don't even want to like me. It is a burden on you to like me. Thanks.
Which is what I feel like a lot of people talk about, going like, I just can't stop it. It ruins my day. You're like, that's not hot. That's not attractive. That's not interesting.
Nope.
It fucks you up. Like, really?
And going, again, like, just because you love someone doesn't mean you need to be with them. And just because you don't want to be with someone doesn't mean you don't love them. So if someone tries to throw that in your face, be like, look, that's not even what we're talking about here. That's not even the point of the conversation. The point is, I don't want to be with you, and no is a complete sentence.
Yes, absolutely.
Done. I know what you mean. I thought you might. So, what's next?
Hey, well, thank you very much, guys, then, for joining us. Gosh, ran a little bit long, but that's totally okay. Like, I love conversations like this, and we really hope you do, too.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Honestly, like, if you're here with us, we really appreciate that. It's really been neat to have the conversations that we do, and sometimes it's really been also fun because we've been able to do a lot of self-examining. Like, I know I haven't mentioned it much, because sometimes, like, where I will bring up points about my life and go, did I really actually ever hear that? Or was it just something that I perceived due to the way that people interacted with it
So some of these conversations have been really great for both of us, where when we've then had to say something out loud that we've never said out loud before, we then have to look at that belief. One, realize it is a belief.
Yeah.
And two, then look at it.
Right, and actually, interact with it.
So that's been really cool.
Yeah, so very much, again, thank you for joining us. If you like what we do, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and share your thoughts with us. Or maybe use our videos maybe to start a conversation with someone else. Also, if you actually like what we do and would like to support us, which would be super awesome, please feel free to actually go check out our Ko-Fi and our Patreon. We've got some links in the description down below. And I have been Scandal.
And I have been Lies. And it was great playing with you. Bye!